Hello, welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Podcast. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard. That's L-E-N-A-R-D. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Thank you for tuning in. As Graham Norton used to say on his show, let's get on with the show! B2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Constitutionalist Podcast. Welcoming. This happens a lot. I hit record and the brain and the mouth don't. No, not welcoming me. I am welcoming to the show today David Bedford, all the way over across the pond in England, a world-renowned Beatles historian, author, and filmmaker. And I tried to get him for March's Music Weeks.
Yeah.
But he's busy. It's now September. He's finally available, thankfully, to talk to. Who knows?
We got the same year. That's not bad.
Yeah, right. Better late than never, as they say.
Exactly.
And I'll try.
It's been a hard day's night, so.
Perfect. You lead me into, I was just about to say, I'll try to avoid the obvious. Did you just come in from the strawberry fields? And how is a day in the life going, puns?
Yeah, no, well, in my life, I've had so many of these things.
Oh, God.
We could go all day on this.
Yes, that's both figurative and literal. I mean,
Well, I'll just make it a life in the day. How's that?
Yeah. So, indeed, first, how are things across the pond? And by that, for U.S. listeners, I don't mean across the river in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I mean over in Liverpool, England. Not Kidney Pool. That's the next town over.
It's all good. It's all good. And I've spent the last 36 years living just off Penny Lane. Literally, I'm within half a mile of Penny Lane, and that's where I've lived for over 30 years. So that's good. The sky is blue suburban skies in Penny Lane. What more could you want?
Yeah, right. You either had to live near Penny Lane or Abbey Road, right?
And Abbey Road's 200 miles away, so I'll stick with Penny Lane.
Okay, so let's back this garbage truck up. Beep, beep, beep. Where were you born and raised? We know where you are now, but, the down and dirty nitty gritty of, indeed, what got you to where you are now? How much time did you spend in prison for what?
Inconclusive. That's what they said in the photographs. Inconclusive. So that's good. No, my life started out, funny enough, with you being Constitutionalist. My father was a vicar in the Church of England. So I've grown up in the church. And what brought my dad to Liverpool was when he became a vicar. And so the parish he became vicar of was St. Philemon with St. Silas, which is in the Dingle in Liverpool. And the Dingle is where Ringo Starr is from.
Another nice connection, yes.
Exactly. So literally, because we had the house came with the vicarage with the job. So as you walked out of my back gate, you turn right 10 yards. That was Madryn Street where Ringo Starr was born.
So almost literally, you were preordained to be a Beatles.
Exactly.
Historian,
and I lived in the Dingle till I was 24. I actually went to the school that Ringo had been to, St. Silas. So I lived all around there, till I was 24 years old. And by which time I'd been married nearly 2 years, and my wife and I, we were just looking somewhere to move to bigger house to start a family. And not depends what you mean by design, but the house we ended up with is literally just off Penny Lane. So last 36 years, that's where we've been. We got 3 daughters born in the same hospital that John Lennon was born in.
Wow.
And they all attended Dovedale School, which is where both John Lennon and George Harrison attended.
You couldn't possibly plan that.
Exactly. I gave up planning my life a long time ago. I would have made an absolute mess of, well, more of a mess than it is. Yeah. So I stopped planning my life a long time ago.
So you weren't born in Liverpool, though. Where were you born?
It's a place called Guildford in Surrey, near London. But I've been in Liverpool.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But
no, somebody has to be. But we moved to Liverpool when I was 4 years old, so I've got no memory of anywhere else. This is all that I know is Liverpool. So it's always been my city, and never left.
So indeed, the obvious next question is, how did God literally open the skies and say, you are going to be a Beatles historian, or how did that come about?
Well, this is where I say you couldn't have planned any of this, and it's funny. You know where Paul writes about having a thorn in his flesh, and he prayed for it to be taken away, and God said, "No, my strength's all you need." So a similar thing happened to me. So 25 years ago, I'd left school at 18, went to work for an insurance company. Had a really good job, and then started feeling ill at the end of 1998. They then decided I had rheumatoid arthritis. Started on all kinds of medication and said, at this rate, by the age of 40, maybe 50, you'll be in a wheelchair. So I was 35 at the time. So I was in such a bad way physically that my doctor signed me off work for a month. And I never went back to work. And so that was definitely not in my plan, was to be medically retired at 35. Wife, 3 young children, mortgage. Now, thankfully, because I worked for an insurance company, my salary, my job was insured. So they were able to give me ill health pension. So with suddenly thinking at 35, what am I going to do? And he said, you'll not be able to do a full-time job again.
Right. Not to interrupt, but I'm on disability, have been since 2004 myself, due to a myriad of health issues. You mentioned RA, familiar with it. Father's side of the family, my grandmother had it, indeed was, she got around on crutches though, but so sadly familiar.
But the interesting thing was that my doctor, my rheumatologist, was telling me, "Oh, you're so much better," and I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Oh, yes, you are." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'm that bad. I can't sleep. I'm in pain. My doctor signed me off work, and he said you should get back to work. You're a young man with a family. You should be ashamed." I went to see my GP, and he said, "I'm sending you for another a second opinion." Saw this other professor, different hospital, and he said, "You've not got rheumatoid arthritis. You've got none of the symptoms of it." Eventually, it took another year. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
One of my many list of problems. Yeah. Once again, sadly familiar.
And it's hard to find other guys who've got it, because I think it's less than 1 in 10 fibro sufferers are male.
Yeah. And I understand your predicament. Like I'm sure your feeling was, I would like to go back to, that was my position. I don't want to be out of work. I'm not ready to retire in 2004. I wasn't 35, but still I was planning on working another 20 years. My 401k was nowhere near built up enough to handle transitioning to a retirement at the age I did. And like you, what am I going to do? And I had always written my whole life. So, okay, well, I guess God is opening that door for me to do that.
I'd
And
never written, and I was, I'd never been a writer. I did a little bit. I
let
did a little
alone a
school.
paperback writer. But
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Very good. Saw what you did there.
yeah.
No, I'd done a bit of. I did a little school magazine. Went to school, and I would put together our like little church parish magazine. But I'd never been a writer, anything like that. And again, this is where all the timings come together in a way that could never have worked out myself. So at the very month that I was signed off work, we were doing some fundraising for the local school, Dovedale School, where my kids were. And the person who responded to our fundraiser was Yoko Ono. And Yoko got in touch and said, John loved his time at Dovedale. I'd love to support what you're doing. How much do you need? And we needed somewhere around £27,000. And she said, well, I'll give you £30,000. Do everything you need to do. Have a bit of extra money in the pot. And then she made several visits to the school to meet with the pupils. I met her on a subsequent trip. I actually met her in the house John Lennon grew up in, Mendips. Met her in there. We took some of the children from the school there. And she was wonderful with the children. But with this moment in June 2000 of me being signed off work, Yoko giving the money, I then met a former pupil from Dovedale who was in the year between John Lennon and George Harrison. I knew them both. And he was writing some of his story memories for a Beatles magazine. So I was chatting with him and he said, I've got this, but I can't use email. Because, of course, we're going back 25 years. It was dial-up internet. Or remember all that kind of funny noises and stuff?
I'm a former IT guy. So, yeah, I've been online since the huge computer dial-up 300 baud days, online before there was such a thing as the internet. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I was doing all that with work already. So I knew how to do all that. So I said to him, like, give me your stuff. I'll email it to the editor. So I emailed it and I said to the editor, I said, by the way, Yoko's just given us this money. Would you be interested in the story? And he said, yeah. So I wrote my very first article, which was all about Yoko giving the money. And I said to the guy at the editor and said, look, is anybody covering Beatles events in Liverpool? Do you want me to do some stuff? He said, we'd love you to. And that's how it started. So it was that perfect coming together, totally unplanned from my part.
God saw a door closed. He opened the window. And you thought enough to climb through it.
Exactly. And so it just became, in a way, because my doctor was brilliant. He just encouraged me. The best advice he gave me was, right, you've now got this diagnosis. It's chronic condition, chronic pain, 24/7, the rest of your life. We don't know what causes it, so we can't cure it. We can only treat some symptoms. You've now got to manage your life around this. Obviously, physically, I'd gone from being very active, playing various sports, running around with the kids and stuff, to not being able to walk 50 yards without severe pain. And he said to me, right, one ways of looking at it. You could sit at home, be in pain, feel sorry for yourself, and that just become your life. Or if you find something to occupy your brain cannot be thinking of the pain at the same time. It's thinking of other things.
Distraction.
Correct. Best advice I ever got. I'm always thankful to you. He was a wonderful
Keep your
doctor.
brain busy and it helps the body health, or it may not improve it, but as you
don't
said,
notice
it helps distract from it.
It does.
Preoccupy yourself with that, so you're kind of then ignoring the pain receptor signals that are indeed still firing in the head. But now you mentioned Yoko, so gotta ask the question: did Yoko break up the Beatles?
No. No, not so.
That's
In some
the
ways,
answer I
yeah,
expected, but I gotta
yeah.
ask.
No, no,
I'm
that's
sure
fine.
you've been asked a million times, right?
Yeah, and I'd actually say I think she maybe prolonged the Beatles for longer than they would have done otherwise because John was so obsessed with her. If the others are stuck to that, Yoko can't come into the studio, can't come in with what we're doing. John would have said, "Fine, I quit." He would have stopped. So, yeah,
That is the best rebuttal to that I've heard to date. So thank you for that.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Because that is, of course, the I not myth isn't the word I want, but the preferred narrative, the accepted reality
Yeah,
is, oh, she did it, right?
no,
Everybody wants a villain. Now,
of course they do. And she was the perfect one for it, wasn't she?
yeah, in some respects, I'm sure. Yeah, that's, to a lot of people, and the way the press treated her,
Yeah,
they kind of fed that villain narrative.
yeah,
They made her always look standoffish and full of hubris and
yeah.
wanting John only for herself. And so we didn't all, especially outside of England, get a real, although they moved to New York later, right? We didn't really get a good, clear, full, honest
No,
picture.
exactly right. Yeah. No, what broke up the Beatles was it began when Brian Epstein died, August 1967. Brian was the glue that held them together. He was the only manager they'd ever have. He was the guy they trusted. He'd taken them from, Liverpool. He was the only guy who could have got them out of Liverpool. If there wasn't a Brian Epstein there, they never would have made it. He guided them. He did everything. And he's the only one that they trusted. Once Brian was gone and they're not touring anymore, they started going off and doing solo projects. And in a way, Paul is the one mostly who's trying to keep them together to find the projects and keep them going on stuff. So that changes then the balance. And it's like a power shift from John to Paul. Paul's not just a musician now, he's part manager, part musical director. And he's doing his best to keep them together and coming up with new ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's always been the norm before them, during them, and after them. That groups don't last. There's always personality issues. You could be the best friends in the world and get on each other's nerves still.
Of course you can. It's like family. It's like, look what happens to brothers. Look at the thing of Don and Phil, who wouldn't speak for years and years. Look at Oasis back on the road. Because Liam and Noel didn't speak for years and years.
Yeah.
Brothers in bands, it happens.
Eventually, groups, if they're not together as long as the Beatles were, to have built up some reserves, if they do break up early in the process, they find, oh, shit, we're out of money. We got to go back on tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, what? The Stones?
They keep going.
Other longevity groups, I mean, The Who, I guess. But
not many.
There are exceptions to the rule for sure.
Very much. Very much.
So I know it's like asking, who's your favorite kid? What's your favorite Beatle tune?
Favorite Beatles? Oh, man. It changes a lot of the time, but I still think A Day in the Life is the absolute masterpiece.
Holds up the best.
It's just the genius of the two of them being able to take fragments of different songs and put them together and create that with the added genius of George Martin in there, who, he was the fifth Beatle. He was the extra musician in the band. He was that important to them. To be able to come up with something like that, I think I read a quote somewhere that said from Freddie Mercury saying, we would not have got Bohemian Rhapsody if we didn't have a day in the life.
I've heard that quote before. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't have a lot of other music if not for the Beatles
Oh,
blazing a
completely.
trail.
Definitely.
They right now for me, I have to say because my sister was named after the song, not Eleanor, not Pepper,
Yeah.
Michelle.
Michelle. Yeah. A great song. And well, I've always enjoyed trying to find where the songs came from, and how they put them together. Which is why I love the song Penny Lane, because I was able to prove that John Lennon wrote a verse in Penny Lane. It's not all Paul's song. There's a song about the behind the shelter in the middle of the roundabout. The pretty nurse is selling poppies from a tray, though she feels if she's in the place she is anyway. Well, the guy I was talking about before, who was writing about his story around Penny Lane and Dovedale, he told me who the pretty nurse was because he was stood next to her when John Lennon and his best mate Pete Shotton came and spoke to her. And the girl's name was Beth Davidson. She was a nurse cadet, about 14 years old, selling poppies for Remembrance Day. And John and Pete Shotton go and talk to them. And the reason she's in the song is because Beth was the girlfriend of Pete Shotton and went on to marry Pete Shotton. So John Lennon put his best friend's wife in a Beatles song and nobody knew.
Well, actually, I've got a book called How to Write a Book and Get It Published, Hints, Tips, and Techniques. The saying goes back for write about what you know. You
Exactly.
fictionalize things or you don't tell the whole tale. People don't need to necessarily, or like the old Dragnet show, the names have been changed to protect the innocent, right?
Or the guilty in some cases.
Yes, exactly. But indeed, write about what you know, write about what you encounter, fictionalize it, fantasize it. Even a fantasy writer generally will take a scene from somewhere in reality and right. So that like fictionalizing London then as a fantasy, you change the names of things, you change slightly definitions of buildings, but in order to keep it straight in your own brain, you need some root in reality to create that. Yes?
Yeah, and that's why Penny Lane was so good, because everybody was analysing every lyric that they wrote. So they thought, if we write about our childhood in Liverpool, nobody's going to be able to work it out. So they had all those things, because they were all real places. It was all a very, very important place to them. But they could keep something for themselves, which nobody else could interpret. And so nobody's fully understood it until I was able to piece together the geography, the history, and all these elements together to put it
connecting all the dots. Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I love to do. That's the fun part of what I get to do. So from what started as, in a way, it was almost therapy. It was something for me to do, having been signed off work. And suddenly there I was in Liverpool. And I just started then meeting people connected to the story of the Beatles and interviewing them. And coming back to how we started of why I'm so busy. So just published my 9th book connected to the Beatles. And this weekend, I've been in Germany because John Lennon's first group, the Quarrymen, I performed with 2 of the surviving members of the Quarrymen. So I've gone from, I first met them over 20 years ago. I got them to come and play at Dovedale School. And because a couple of guys live locally, we just got to know each other over the years. Over the last 2.5 years, I've been performing with the Quarrymen. And it's just, it's so much fun. It is so much fun. So as well as, getting to do all these books, 2 documentary films, we've got a play I've been a historian for that's opening up in Liverpool in a couple of weeks' time, playing with the Quarrymen and say, doing all these things. If I'd have stayed in work and I hadn't fallen ill, I never would have done any of these things.
Right. Oh, I think God knew in your soul you were an investigative journalist. And therefore, that's
Yeah.
why one door was closed so that window could open for you to go
Oh,
through.
absolutely
And,
right.
and I also love the Rat Pack. And in 2006, when I was in Vegas, thankfully, they used to play at the Sahara where the Rat Pack
Yeah.
used to play, but they were at the Union Casino when I was there in 2006. And thank goodness I got the chance to see the Rat Pack as back crew. And it's not like impersonators. It's like, oh my God, I'm seeing Joey Bishop. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's Dean Martin. It's like, which is leading to the question: do you know a favorite Beatles cover band or tribute band that tours about?
And well, there are so many of them.
There would be.
There's two really good ones over in America. The best ones have been the Fab Faux, FAUX, and Rain, two of them who performed on Broadway, amongst other places. So they've been going for years and years. I've been going to New Jersey to a fest for Beatles fans. So I've done that maybe 10 times over the last 15 years. And there's a band there called Liverpool who are just the most phenomenal musicians. They can play any Beatles song. Absolutely brilliant. So I love them as well. Over here, we've had the bootleg Beatles. In Liverpool, we've got the Mersey Beatles, and the Cavern Beatles from Liverpool, who are all superb. Absolutely superb.
Mm-hmm. And do they indeed do themselves up to look as best they can like them?
Yeah. Yeah. A great one we went to, I think, was it last year or year before? And had the bootleg Beatles. So they've been together for about 25 years. And they performed with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. And they did I think it was the whole of Let It Be in Abbey Road. Everything. Oh my goodness. It was just.
It was like they were all still here.
Yeah.
Some of them are gone and performing together. It was as if it was a real Beatles reunion tour.
Well, it is. And for me, who of course was too young to have seen them, because I was only born in 1965. So I never got to see anything.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because that reminds me now. I was going to mention, and I forgot till you said being born. I was born in 62. And indeed, Mom dragged me to Detroit Airport when the Beatles flew in.
Ah, cool. There you go.
So, of course, I couldn't remember it, but I know I was there.
You were there. Yeah, I didn't get any of that. So I have to live it vicariously, and seeing tribute bands, but having the fun then of playing with the Quarrymen, who were John's first group, and and because I've got to know them so well, we just tell stories of what it was like, and you think,
yeah,
it's just amazing. It's amazing.
I was going to joke. This is all an act. We know you don't really like the Beatles. Who really is your favorite band? So who is your second favorite band? Try to throw you a curve there. Yeah.
No, it comes out. It's either the Eagles or Bruce Springsteen. They're probably the two that I listen to the most. But
there's a bit of the Beatles and the Eagles.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, and from Bruce as well. Absolutely, no doubt. But probably my Fab Four when I was growing up were a band called Status Quo. Now, they never really made it in the States. Over here.
That's why I'm saying who?
Yeah, no, not the Who. No, I've seen the Who. No. I like them as well. No, so Status Quo were the band that I grew up watching and loving. And yeah,
I love the name. That's a good name.
Yeah, well, it keeps things nice and even keel, doesn't it? So Things
Yeah,
don't change.
and that's really, I mean, there's so many groups over so much time going back to when recordings were first invented, that
Oh
we
yeah,
could sing onto a recording and someone could play it back, that
yeah.
it gets harder and harder. It's like going through the phone book. John Public Eleanor Blitzkrieg is our
Right.
band name, right? It's hard to come up with something more unique now.
It is. It is. And because so many people can like record in their bedroom because technology has done that. If you go back and you just think of the quality of the recordings that the Beatles did, and this way you give credit to George Martin overall, but then the engineers who worked with them. When you're working with just 4 tracks, that's all you've got. And the fact you can go back and digitally remaster them shows how good the original recordings were
Yeah,
and
oh
how
yeah,
good the 4 Beatles were as musicians.
yeah,
They
yeah.
actually
I
capture a lot of it live.
If we had today, back in the late 70s, early 80s, my dad had a polka band. They had a 3 record deal. So
Yeah,
I wrote not polka music, but I wrote and recorded country, pop, rock music. But
yeah,
indeed, I I was recording on a 4 track. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's how I
not
started.
yeah, not that
Yeah,
easy. Then came the 8 tracks, and no, we're not talking about the 8 track player in your
I know
car.
what you mean. Yeah, I had
But
an 8 track
yeah,
as well.
if we had today where anyone can record directly multiple tracks, 100 tracks if you
Yeah,
wanted, into your laptop and
exactly.
release direct to the internet,
It's
singles at
amazing.
99 cents, I'd still be writing and recording music rather than writing and publishing books.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a different world, and so that gives you a great appreciation for what these engineers were doing. Because at times, the Beatles would go into a studio and say, "We want this," and they say that doesn't exist. Yes, but we want it. So one of the guys, Ken Townsend, like he was there from the first audition in June '62, and was with the Beatles for many, many years. He invented a thing called ADT, the automatic double tracking. So instead of having to record your voice twice, he invented that
Yeah.
so the Beatles could use
So
it.
there were a lot of people trying to run double 4 tracks and sync them, which
Yeah.
was a miraculous
Oh, it
task.
was. Yeah. And that's they were having to come up with these ideas and inventions to try and keep pace because the Beatles were never satisfied with, oh, we found our sound, like the Stones did. We like the blues and R&B, we'll stick with that. No, they did now and said, right,
Well,
we've got to
except for
do something
the
new.
disco area, and the Stones released a couple disco songs, but they,
That, let's not go there with that.
yeah.
We'll just not mention that.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. Now I was gonna,
But you think
yeah.
if every Beatles album was an evolution on the previous one, it was something new, and they weren't afraid to try something different. They were never satisfied with, oh, this is good enough. We can earn our money, and we'll just churn out these songs and stuff. No,
Right,
let's push the boundaries. Let's try something
right.
different. Give the
I,
fans something different.
yeah, I thought of what it was, came back in my brain. Thank you for
You know
delivering that back.
what?
Rush, the Canadian rock
Oh
group,
yeah,
right? Spirit of Radio, all this machinery making
in
modern
modern
music
music.
can still be open hearted. It's really just a question of your honesty. Yeah, your honesty. It's the same now with AI and book
Oh,
writing. You can cheat,
I
but you're
know.
being dishonest. Are you an honest musician or a cheater? Are you an honest author, writer, or are you a cheater?
Exactly. No, it's this whole thing of put something into AI and it'll write a book for you. No, I learned the hard way because I didn't even I had no book deal. I was just doing these interviews because it was something to do. And it's funny enough, the reason I ended up with all these notes was one of the problems with fibromyalgia is short-term memory loss. And so I'd start reading a book, I get 10 pages in and forgotten what I've just read. So I just started making notes and slipping them into the books. So it wasn't until I'd been doing all that.
Another reason why you want, and I just got the proof of my 8th book, Constitutionalist Politics 3, third in the series based on the podcast. You want a physical book so you could do that. You can't do that in an ebook.
Exactly right. And that's why, I remember when, the ebooks came out and said this will be the death of the books.
And what do you do when the power goes out?
Exactly right. And the children, they still want a book. And adults still want to hold a book. I've got a Kindle. It's great for, skimming through stuff or if I'm on holiday. But I've got a library full of books.
Oh, it can be convenient. But something you want preserved, you need the physical book. And
it's not a replacement.
Go back to the cheating aspect. Then there's the other. The other side of that coin is Boston, who they used organs but refused to use synthesizers, and they do various tricks to make the organs sound like a synthesizer. Well, why not just use the synthesizer? You're being too
purist.
Thank you. That's the right word. Yes. They are the antithesis of what Rush was singing about there. Yes.
Absolutely. Definitely. Because the Beatles were pushing boundaries with technology, but it didn't replace. They were still 3 guitars and drums. But they were adding in, a Moog synthesizer, all this Indian instruments. They were things that would complement and add to a track, to experiment with, to make it sound different. But you look at their last live performance on the rooftop, it's still three guitars and drums, plus they got Billy Preston on the organ.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love most about the Beatles, and kind of maybe there might not be a Mannheim Steamroller without a Beatles, right? A willingness to bring in all kinds of instruments others may never have even heard of.
Exactly right. And they were saying, don't just sit back and accept what you've got. But that's one of the things I love, particularly with all the stuff with the Quarrymen, is we perform the songs that John and the Quarrymen were performing back in 56 to 58. So a lot of it is the skiffle music. And there's a guy, Lonnie Donegan. Have you heard of Lonnie Donegan?
No.
Okay, so George Harrison said, no Lonnie Donegan, no Beatles. And he's right. Lonnie Donegan's the guy who changed everything in this country when it came to music, because he invented this craze called skiffle. And it was so simple. It was all based on old American country, American folk and blues songs. Really simple stuff. He loved Lead Belly, Woody Guthrie, people like that. And he was saying, learn 3 chords. There's 100 songs you can play. Make your own instruments, start a group. And thousands of groups started in the 50s because of Lonnie Donegan and skiffle. And if it wasn't for him, nobody had the concept of forming a group and going out to buying instruments. That didn't happen. You had to go through proper music tuition, learn to read the dots. That was the only way you got into musicianship as a career. But Donegan comes along and says, have some fun, make your instruments. You don't need a lot of skill, just go and enjoy yourself. That's how John, Paul and George, and most of the big musicians, like Jagger and Richards, like the guy, Jimmy Page, people like that, they all started through skiffle.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 3 chords thing. It brings to mind to me the old Cheech and Chong joke song, Earache My Eye, right? I only know 3 chords. Well, that's actually the truth. I mean, you go through the entire Eagles, to throw back to them, their first best of record, I had the songbook for that. And indeed, I could play the songs because they mostly were the same chords. But depending on how you arrange them, and it's not what you have, it's what you do with them. And because you mentioned country, right? The joke is always, oh, rednecks, they don't really know. They're all the same chords. But reality is, research has shown, scientific studies have shown, the biggest hits tend to have the same chords.
Exactly right.
Is that coincidence? I think not.
Now you mentioned country music. So one of the books I've written is called The Country of Liverpool, Nashville of the North, because we had the biggest country and western scene here. At the same time as beat music was taking off, we had the biggest one in Europe was here in Liverpool, because the roots of skiffle were in country music and the roots of the Beatles were in country music. Because what they all realised was, take if you think of someone like Hank Williams, you can hear the beginnings of rock and roll already with Hank Williams. Think of the artists who influenced the Beatles. Okay, so Carl Perkins, rockabilly. Everly Brothers, Buddy Holly, Elvis, all these guys all had their roots in country music. And what these groups who started in skiffle realised was the same three chords played country songs and then played rock and roll. It's the same three chords. And so skiffle died out after a couple of years. And so in Liverpool, you were left with, you either went down the country route or the beat route. But a lot of the others did a mixture of the two. And so country music was at the root of a lot of the Beatles' music, a lot more than people realise.
And a lot of gospel led to the country. So,
absolutely right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was all there.
Well, we could talk for a week.
I think we have, haven't we?
I think we're 40 minutes in. I like to keep my shows 30, even a little less, because I call it today's Twitter attention span, right?
Yeah.
Everybody just, give me the soundbite, give me the headline. I don't want details matter, people. You need to dig into things. But
Definitely.
The longer it is means less people will tune in. So, do you have a website for people to reach out to you?
I do. It's nice and simple. It is davidabedford.com. Nice and simple. davidabedford.com.
Okay, yep. And that'll be in the notes, and
perfect.
I'll in post put it on the scroll at the bottom of the screen. And if you look at your initials in the mirror, you're bad.
I'm bad to good.
Yeah, just the idiotic way my OCD, ADHD brain works. It's just stupid. DAB, right, in a mirror, BA.
I get it.
In case of it, I know you got it, but in case if somebody out there didn't get the possibly my worst of lamest of puns I've ever given.
Don't worry, I've given many, many lame puns. I'm known for them.
All right, thank you. I don't know when this will air, but of course, when it does, I'll be letting you know.
Perfect. Joe, thank you so much. This has been great fun.
Take care. God bless.
And you too, my friend. Take care.
Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help. Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist Podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.